So, Dr. Stephen Greer thinks we may get UFO disclosure in 72 hours, more or less. Take a listen.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Stephen Greer, and this is the first episode of our podcast, the Dr. Stephen Greer podcast. And the reason we're starting this podcast now, rather emergently here today, is because we have a group of people who are in the process in the next 72 hours or so who will be coming forward with a great deal of information and evidence related to the UFO and NHI or extraterrestrial issue. And I think the public is going to need to have a source of perspective and context and analysis to go to. And so I feel that this is the time for me to start a podcast like this. We're going to be eager to let everyone, put the word out that we're doing this, because I think without the context and interpretation, understanding, there'll be too many opportunities for the disclosure of this information to be manipulated, go sideways, and create all kinds of confusion. So I think when we do these, we're going to try to do them every week if possible. I'll be traveling a great deal with what's happening, but we have a portable setup here, and we'll just kind of do it on the road when I'm traveling. So we're going to keep all of you up to date, at least on a weekly basis, and maybe more than that if there are further breaking events.
All right, so there's a few things here to break down. One, Dr. Stephen Greer has a podcast, right? And that's a clip from episode 1. That's literally how he starts off, with a bang. So props to Dr. Stephen Greer for that's how you start a show, right? Now, let's break down that statement a little bit. He's saying 72 hours, more or less, right? And he's also saying just a group of people coming forward with information and evidence, right? I don't know exactly what that means, right? Is that going to bring us disclosure, or is that just going to bring us more questions? What kind of evidence, right? I've got a couple other clips from this show to play to give you a little more insight on this. I did put a link in the description to his podcast. I'm sure some people are going to be interested to check it out. So, please go check it out. Links in the description. And, I don't know, right? I guess we wait and see what this is. I mean, everything's happening so quickly. There's so many things and so many promises. It's hard to tell what exactly is going on. So here's another clip from the show.
I just want to give everyone sort of a good background context of how we got from there to here. And so it's a big story, 34 years of work. Now, one thing all of you can go to is you go to dpiarchive.com, which has the entire Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive up there. It's 34 years of evidence material, hundreds of top secret whistleblowers. It gives you the location of 150 plus sites where UFO and UAP activity has been going. Some of them are key black sites that are that we've mapped, and all of that information is from some of the over 700 whistleblowers that I have debriefed over the years, and where we've gathered intelligence and information. So the Disclosure Project has become, ironically, the biggest repository of intelligence and information on this subject, and exceeds what the Senate intelligence and key people in the Pentagon have who are not in those illegally run programs.
Okay, so he's got this website with all this information, which I do know about, right? 700 whistleblowers, all this evidence, all this stuff. Why does this group of people then need to come out, right, with this evidence and information, right? If it's all there, like 700, like, I don't understand. Is this the tipping point? I mean, what is the point of these guys coming out, right? It doesn't, I don't get it, right? If it's all there already, what are we doing, right? So I'll be curious to see what exactly this stuff is, right? I mean, we'll find out soon enough, right? So, okay, I'll hold my, I'll be patient here. I'll be open-minded and wait and see, right? This is a he's being very kind of clear of his promise, but he's also made other claims. It's kind of all over the place, right? So in this instance, he's just saying a group of people bringing information and evidence about NHI, right? But again, he also is claiming that there's already everything you need on the website, right? That Congress and the Senate Intel Committee doesn't even have, right? All right, so, and make sure to stay to the end because I've got more information about Dr. Stephen Greer's relationship with the Las Vegas Cybertruck bomber, right? So, but this next clip is just Dr. Stephen Greer commenting on what he claims that there's two different types of governments, right? Or at least that there's two different governments, right, for America. I don't know if I understand it entirely, but essentially maybe like who's pulling the strings controlling the, NHI narrative here.
I want to emphasize that there are two governments dealing with this. There's the constitutional government. Most of the people in that government have no idea what's going on. And I can say that with authority because I'm one of the only people you'll ever meet who has briefed people at that level of government since 1993, when I briefed the incoming President Clinton's CI director. Then, the other part of it is in Congress, or most people in Congress, they know nothing about the subject, even if they're on key oversight committees. So this has been something that was a shock to me. It's going to be a shock to you. It's going to be a shock to the world and the American public to find out that the constitutional government in the United States since the late 1950s have been basically pushed aside and relegated to irrelevance, frankly, on this issue since the late Eisenhower years. And so this whole history we will unpack over a series of these episodes because it's very important to understand the context of how we got from there to here. But importantly, right now, the crisis of the moment is that there are a number of people coming forward from various black sites, which are highly classified, illegally run operations in intelligence, military, and corporate programs. And those guys that I've been meeting with for about almost 2 years now, 20 months, have decided to come forward publicly, identify themselves, and in a controlled release begin to give the information to the American people and the U.S. government.
All right. Okay. So again, we'll wait. We got less than 72 hours to see, more or less, right? I don't know what that means. To see what's going to come out, right? What these guys are actually going to bring to the table, right? Just some pictures, photo, I don't know, right? So we'll wait and see. But look, let's get to the part about Dr. Stephen Greer's relationship to the Las Vegas Cybertruck bomber, because I made a video claiming that, that guy was one of Dr. Stephen Greer's whistleblowers. He made some comments on a Newsmax show, and I interpreted it one way, and some people disagreed, but I also showed a bunch of other context clips that's what I think he was saying. Now, this next clip I'm about to play you, he's going to deny that they have any relationship and that anyone knows him, but he also says some other things that makes me think that's not really the case. So let me play the clip and we'll come back because I actually still don't think I'm wrong, even though what you're about to hear may make you think otherwise.
I'll be very blunt, is that as soon as this gentleman and his guys decided to unmask themselves, in other words, come forward named, which was not the original plan. The original plan was to hand over a lot of the evidence of these operations, the downing of the craft, the man-made ones to me, and I'd get it out. They decided to come out publicly. Well, as soon as that decision was made and they put it on a timeline, i.e. before the inauguration of the next president, which is where we are, all the drones stuff started. It was sort of a psyop. And, whether they're Chinese or whatever, the button to hit and go on that was related to this organization wanting to create the specter of a threat. And then a number of other ridiculous things happened where, for example, the suicide bomber who blew up the Tesla truck at the Trump building on New Year's Day, he wrote a manifesto referring to gravitic propulsion systems, meaning anti-gravity, all the stuff this group is going to bring out. And so everyone thinks that that guy was one of our guys. He's not. He had no relation. In fact, no one in my network even knew had ever heard his name. But why did that happen? It appeared to be a psyop or something to create a tainted version of this. Now, we haven't all the details on it yet. We're investigating it, but it's not everything that meets the eye on that weird event. Same thing with all these drones and this weird fog stuff. There are people all over the internet saying that's an alien invasion starting. Well, all that started literally right after, around the time my meeting with the knock, and who said, I'm going to come out publicly now. I'm going to actually unmask myself, and I'm going to be coming out with name, rank, serial number. That's a game changer. And particularly someone at that level with other people and representing information from 6 different black sites. And I've only been over the 2. So I know of the others. But the point I'm making here is that there is a risk here. And the public, this is why I'm doing this podcast. So as whatever chicanery unfolds, here's where you need to listen. And I don't want to overstate my position. But if you want to know what's really going on, tune into this podcast, because I will not varnish the truth. It'll be the truth, the whole truth as I know it. It'll be direct. I am not a politician. I am not looking for a job. I am not looking for money, and I am not looking for a political position. I'm going to tell you the truth no matter what. So this is why people need to understand that's my mission. That's my purpose. And I'm wired into enough of this, as you can tell by now, that I'll be able to speak with authority. So, but there will be a cacophony, a chorus, and chaotic attempts to do this. And then the other big risk is that what happened on New Year's Day with that Cybertruck explosion, or what's been happening with the drones, they could put that on steroids. They could launch that into even worse events, which we hope won't happen.
Okay, there's a lot to say there, right? So he's saying that it's a psyop, like whoever else said that, and myself and other people, right? It's a psyop, but it's really just interpreting what he's saying, because let's be fair, right? Maybe I am wrong about that, but maybe I'm right too, because Dr. Stephen Greer, he has done a lot for the community, right? I will admit that. And I've enjoyed some of his documentaries, to be honest with you. And he's just a divisive figure. I just don't agree with everything. And, it's with a lot of people in this field, to be honest with you. But, I can admit that he has provided some things to the community. But I can also admit, too, the other side of the coin, he says things all over the place, right? So in that clip, he's saying that guy is not connected to us, the Cybertruck, but then he claims to know what's going on with the fog and the drones and everything. And then when his knock wanted to come out, that's when that all started, right? And then at the very end there, he says, like, the Las Vegas thing, he brings up again, and the drones, they could make that a bigger thing. Well, how does he know what they are going to do? Like, what is he talking about? Who's he talking about? If he doesn't know anything about that guy and has no connection and no one on his team knows him, then how does he know what happened with that guy? That makes sense what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Think about this a little bit deeper, right? And honestly, even though someone says XYZ in this community, sometimes you got to read through, the lines and see more context, because again, it just goes all over the place. It's hard to tell what exactly is the truth, right? And I don't know, right? I'm just so confused, right? If you're confused, I'm confused, whatever. I don't know, right? So I don't know where to stand on this, to be honest with you. I'm even more confused by this, because he says he's here to tell the truth, and he doesn't need money, yet he charges for everything. I think it's okay to say you need money, right? I need money to run this channel. I have no problem. I get sponsors. I sell merch. I have Patreon. I have memberships. I make money off the views. I'm a content creator. Pretty transparent. This is what I do. No problem saying that. It's not free for me to create this content, right? So I don't know. It's just when someone says they have all the answers, like Dr. Stephen Greer for the most part, right, is going to bring all this forward. What is this little bit going to do if he's got all these 700 whistleblowers and all that information on DPI archive? Isn't that enough? What is this knock or whatever, right, that is connected to Michael Herrera, by the way, and this Randy Anderson that came out on Jesse Michaels' channel? These are all Stephen Greer whistleblowers, right, or connected to him in some way, right? Like, that's just the truth, right? And, I'm not here to call it any other content creators for sure, but it's all very mysterious when a particular content creator only covers Dr. Stephen Greer whistleblowers, right? And it's very wishy-washy of how they got in contact with them, right? Because don't worry, I have a part 2 coming up of the Randy Anderson video that came out from Jesse Michaels, and I'm going to be looking into that more. And by the way, I wasn't just talking about Jesse there, okay? So I don't want anybody to interpret that, oh, he's talking about Jesse. I'm not, okay? I have zero problems with Jesse and what he does, and I'm happy he puts out content. His stuff is amazing. I'm not saying anything about him, but these are all people connected to Dr. Greer, and that's fine, but just be transparent about that, right? And be transparent about how exactly you got in contact with this person, right? And if someone brought him to you, how did they get in contact with them, right? I'm just saying. So I got a part 2 coming up on that I'm going to be digging into. I'll let you guys know when I release that. I do have a space that I went to with other Green Berets who listened to the space about Randy Anderson, the interview, and other Green Berets, okay, and veterans had a conversation about him, right? And the Las Vegas bomber, to be honest with you, got mixed in. It's over an hour long. I'm going to be putting it on the Vetted Clips channel, so I'll put a link down below. Please go check that out. It's the full space. I asked the person that ran the space, the average Chris, if I could put that space up, and he agreed. Okay, so please go check that out. You can listen to the entire thing there. I'll be playing clips of it in my part 2, and I'll let you know about that, but I am going to put up the full space. Feel free to go listen to it. Again, just veterans talking about other veterans and with other veterans. So I stayed out of it. I did get to ask a couple questions, but, why can't veterans, I want to hear from them. They're experts on this, right? The Green Beret community, as I learned, is very small. So they're able to sort of track some of this stuff down. So anyway, enough of that. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video, and maybe in the next few days we'll have all the information we need about NHI from Dr. Stephen Greer. Again, I'm open to it. Let's see what information he has come out. But what are we going to do when this guy comes out that he's been working with for a couple years and it's really not anything at all, right? So anyway, look, I'm glad that he also started a podcast. And yeah, happy for him to say his stuff and put his stuff out. Absolutely. Everyone should get a podcast going if they want one. I totally get it. And I don't blame him for doing it. So again, link below. Go check out his podcast, Dr. Stephen Greer, episode 1. It's available now. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.